Okay, so this is the practical part of dealing with a patient who is choking. So we're going to start with an adult. This is Bob. He unfortunately was eating his dinner and he started choking on something that he was eating. So first of all, you've encouraged him to cough. That hasn't cleared the blockage. He's getting quite anxious, quite agitated. So you need to act really quickly. Now I'm going to show you this with Bob sitting on my lap. Chances are, if you've got a patient who's choking, they're not going to be able to sit. They're going to be quite anxious. They're going to be walking up and down, quite agitated, trying to clear their airways. So, but I'm going to show you with Bob on my lap. So the first thing you need to do is give 5 back blows. So these are quite firm back blows because you want to make sure, I'm going to turn him slightly, so you can clear the blockage. So just some gentle taps on his back is not going to do that if it's stuck. So with one hand, you support the patient, and with the other hand is how you administer the back blows. You need to lean the patient forward because if the foreign body does come loose, obviously you want it to go out rather than going back down into his airway. So make sure you're leaning forward. And then between his shoulder blades, you need to administer 5 sharp back blows. It's really important that between each one, you check to see if it's been expelled, because if it's been expelled after 3, you don't want to then carry on giving him the back blows. So really important. So between his shoulder blades, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, unfortunately, those 5 back blows didn't work. So we now need to move on to abdominal thrusts. I'm going to move the camera down slightly. So with the abdominal thrusts, you need to make sure that you are to the side of the patient. Make sure your head is away. You think if you give an abdominal thrust, his head's going to move back and you don't want it to smack you in the face. So with your one hand, it's between their belly button and the bottom of their rib cage. So it's in the middle of that, and you need to have a clenched fist with one hand. With your other hand, you clasp that over the top with your head out of the way, and they call it a J motion. So it's an inwards and upwards motion. So again, you want to do this 5 times, but obviously if it's expelled before the 5, you stop doing the abdominal thrust. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if that doesn't work, you then go back to the 5 back blows and then back to the 5 abdominal thrusts. Obviously, really important, you call 999. If you're giving anyone abdominal thrusts or you're giving an infant chest thrusts, really important, you must call an ambulance. Even if it has been expelled, then they still need to go to hospital to make sure there's not been any internal damage. But really important, early on, you call 999 so the ambulance gets there as quickly as possible. So that is for an adult. Now then, I'm going to move on to a child. So with children, it's not much different. Sometimes you have to use a little less force, but apart from that, the interventions that you have to do are the same. If the child is relatively small, you can lay that child on your lap, or you can have them sitting on your lap or standing as we did before. So it's the same as it is with the adults. So you lean the child forward slightly, supporting his chest with your hand. With the other hand, you administer, turn it slightly, the 5 back blows, still with force. 1, and again checking. 2, 3, 4, 5. Really important to make sure that you use enough force. You're not going to cause any injury. If you don't tap it hard enough, obviously you're not going to assist in removing the foreign object. So although it's tempting to not hit too hard, it's really important you apply enough force to the back. So that hasn't worked. So we then need to move on to abdominal thrust. So again, it's under the rib cage and above the belly button. So it's in the middle. With one fist, in one hand, you make a fist. With the other hand, you clasp that over the top, and that inwards and upwards J motion, and your head out the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, if that hasn't worked, you carry on, you continue until the ambulance arrives. With a baby or an infant under 1 year old, it's slightly different. They're much more delicate, so you need to be more careful that you don't cause any damage or injury to the baby. So with back blows, you can have the baby resting on your arm, and you're supporting the baby's head with this hand, holding the airway open slightly. You can, if they're laying across your lap, lay them across your knee, and then you administer the 5 back blows. 1, again checking, 2, 3, 4, 5. If that hasn't worked, then we don't do abdominal thrusts on babies, we do chest thrusts. So similar to, well, exactly the same position where you do chest compressions when you're doing CPR on an infant, is the same for the chest thrust. So it's 2 fingers, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, you continue doing that until the object is removed, and obviously until help arrives, so until the ambulance arrives. Okay.